What if the world's most powerful military is not as prepared as it claims? What if a single regional war could expose dangerous gaps in America's global defense posture? These questions are now echoing through Washington as tensions with Iran reach a critical point, forcing policymakers, generals, and intelligence agencies to confront an unsettling possibility. A direct conflict with Tehran may be far riskier for the United States than publicly acknowledged. Behind closed doors, concerns are growing that America's military infrastructure in the Middle East lacks sufficient air defense systems, leaving key bases dangerously exposed to Iranian missile strikes. According to high-level disclosures, this alarming assessment has already been presented to President Donald Trump by one of the country's top military leaders, raising urgent doubts about Washington's readiness for a prolonged or even limited war. The central fear is stark. If Iran launches a coordinated missile response, U.S. Central Command may struggle to defend its assets, potentially triggering a rapid escalation beyond America's control. Yet despite these warnings from intelligence and military professionals, questions persist over whether the White House might still pursue military action, disregarding internal advice. At the same time, strategists are asking the opposite question as well. Could Iran withstand even a limited American strike, or has Tehran prepared precisely for this moment? As President Trump weighs multiple military and political calculations regarding Iran, his aggressive posture is reportedly facing resistance from senior commanders, most notably General Dan Kane, who has emerged as a key voice of caution. In recent meetings, Kane reportedly warned that any attack on Iran would immediately place U.S. forces in the Middle East at extreme risk, emphasizing that American bases across the region are inadequately protected against advanced missile barrages. Even more troubling, he suggested that in the decisive early phase of such a war, America's regional allies might choose not to support U.S. Central Command, leaving American forces isolated at a critical moment. Compounding the risk is a shortage of essential military hardware within U.S. stockpiles, an issue Kane reportedly attributed to the heavy flow of advanced defensive equipment sent to Israel, prioritizing its security amid regional instability. This raises a strategic dilemma. Has Washington overstretched its resources, weakening its own forward defenses in the process? Meanwhile, Iran appears increasingly confident, signaling that it is prepared to challenge not just U.S. influence, but the entire American military architecture in the Middle East. Israeli intelligence agencies themselves are said to be deeply worried about Washington's level of preparedness, claiming that in a war with Iran, U.S. military supplies in the region could be exhausted within a single week. These claims were highlighted in a report by Iran's state broadcaster Press TV, citing intelligence assessments that question the sustainability of American operations. According to these sources, even the deployment of major U.S. naval assets, such as the USS Gerald R and the USS Abraham Lincoln, along with their accompanying strike groups, may not be sufficient to sustain a long-term campaign against Iran. The concern is not just about offensive capability, but survivability, as Iranian retaliation could inflict severe damage on U.S. bases, logistics hubs, and naval infrastructure across the Middle East. Such losses would not only undermine military operations, but also create a powerful political backlash at home, placing President Trump under intense domestic pressure at a time of already heightened polarization. Iran, for its part, has intensified psychological and strategic pressure by unveiling new missile systems and showcasing its growing deterrence capabilities. Participation in joint naval drills with Russia has further reinforced Tehran's message that it is not isolated and is willing to challenge American dominance on multiple fronts. These moves are widely interpreted as calculated signals aimed directly at Washington, designed to raise the perceived cost of any military confrontation. Adding to the tension, Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has issued explicit warnings, declaring that Iranian forces are capable of sinking U.S. warships if provoked, statements intended to underline Tehran's readiness for escalation. Together, these developments paint a complex and volatile picture, a superpower grappling with logistical constraints, wavering regional support, and internal warnings, facing an adversary that believes it has prepared for exactly this kind of showdown. As the world watches, the question is no longer simply whether the United States can defeat Iran militarily, but whether it can afford the risks, costs, and unpredictable consequences of a war that may expose vulnerabilities few expected to see.